Welcome to Dad Does, and today we are looking at the MakeBlock mBot robot. Now here's what you need to know about this very cool robot. Open source, very affordable, sells for $79, easy to put together and easy to program. So here it is in its pieces as it comes, based on an Arduino board. I use a variation of Scratch to program it. You can also use a remote or an app on your phone. We're just showing off some of the pieces here. Here are some of the sensors, can sense walls. The setup is actually much easier than it looks. This looks complicated, but pretty modular. Just snap it together. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it together, and then we're going to get into showing it in action. So John's just going to show off the simple remote here. You can turn him left or right. You can go forward and back. Really, the cool thing about him is that you can program him with this Scratch programming language. We're going to look some more if we can program our robot now. Alright, one of the really cool things here is the sensors, the eyes you see in the front. So he can have this wall avoidance mode. So if you just press B on the remote, which John will now do, watch what he does as he explores around. Go ahead. So you see as he gets towards walls, kind of stutters around. You see he'll find his way out of there. Yeah, not perfect, but pretty good. Finds his way. Trying to run over John there. Sees another wall, avoiding it. So that's pretty fun. He will go and avoid walls and explore around. Alright, here's just a little fun thing we found with those sensors he has for eyes for the wall avoidance. If you put him on a small table like this, it becomes a challenging game for John. He's going to try to keep him on the table. Check him out and probably do some wheelies. Alright, go ahead. John's going to put him in wall avoidance mode and try to keep him from going off the table by putting his hand in front of him so he stops. Go ahead. There you go, the little wheelie as he jumps back. Oh, almost lost him. Oh, almost lost him there. So there you go, just a cool, fun thing to do. Alright, so we've got David here, our chief Scratch programmer, going to show you one of our favorite things about this mBot. And it uses a modified version of Scratch, very familiar to anyone who's programmed in Scratch, just add some additional commands to be able to control the robot. So David has gone ahead and done some programming here to allow you to control and move the robot. And if you've done any Scratch at all, it'll look very familiar to you. When a key is pressed, run forward at a certain speed. He has different speeds here, different settings. David's going to show it off to us here. And it's working through Bluetooth, so synced up through Bluetooth wireless. So David, go ahead and show him what it does.
So you're just going to press which direction you want it to go, and then the speed, 1, 2, or 3. 1 being the slowest, 3 being the fastest.
Alright, so cool. So what David has done there, so it's spinning around, has programmed the arrow keys there to control it. So I'm going to show David here as he's hitting up, down, left, right. He is moving the mBot around. And what he's done, which is neat, is that they're different speeds. So he has some different settings, whether you want it to go slow, fast, or medium. And again, all of that done through Scratch, and then a Bluetooth to send it over there. He's got a couple other tricks in here, right, David? What do you got about the sounds and the lights?
So if you press this button...
Okay, so let's show that here. There's a button right on the mBot, and you can program that too through Scratch.
So when you press it, green LEDs will turn on and make a noise, and when you release it, red ones will turn on and it'll make a different noise.
Alright, so this is pretty cool. I mean, David likes it from a kid's point of view, from a parent point of view. This is pretty neat, because what they're doing is they're taking Scratch, which David has learned in school. Normally you just do things on the screen, right? You do some Scratch program. But this allows you to connect up to the mBot and then bring some of that Scratch stuff directly to the mBot. So things like that, controlling the LEDs on it, the sensors on it, the speed of it, the movement. The cool thing about it too is that you could combine it. We just started out here, but David could have something where something happens in a Scratch game here, and then the mBot starts doing a little dance and playing some music based on the events that happen in the game. So I think this is really cool, using Scratch, which a lot of kids already know, and just taking it out into the real world with the mBot. I real quickly want to show another way you can control the mBot in addition to the remote control, Scratch programming. You can also use the mBot app, showing it on the iOS here. Pretty straightforward, works through Bluetooth, and then you can drive them around. I'm just going slowly so it doesn't go off my table here. But you can also do cool things like change the lights. So right here, as you see, this will turn the LED lights on. I'm going to click that, and we can toggle through the different lights. So just a fun way if you don't want to do the Scratch programming and still want to be able to control it. We can sound the buzzer. I'll go ahead and show you right here. I press that. So just another cool way to control it. There's speed up, there's a figure 8 auto mode, and some different speeds, just different ways to control it through the mBot app. All right, clearly a lot to like about this mBot. The major thing is the price. So this sells for $79, now was $49 on Kickstarter, but still at $79, considerably less than any of the other robotic kits out there. And you get a lot for that, as we've shown. You can do the Scratch programming, which is a language a lot of kids already know. So in terms of the education aspect of it, of course, the STEM, just really cool that it uses a modified version of Scratch. Then you have all the different sensors on it. You've got this one we're showing here, has a Bluetooth module on top right here, but you can switch that out and put a 2.4 gigahertz control module. It has the sensors on front. It's got his eyes here, so it can detect things in front of it. Right down at the bottom here, he can detect a line. So as it's moving around, it could follow a black line. So just a lot of different controls. So even though it's only $79, you're getting a lot for that. The other thing we want to point out is that it's aluminum. I mean, this thing is strong, so it's pretty solid, the base of it. And as we showed, pretty easy to put together. And that is another point in it, that rather than having a lot of confusing wires and configurations, pretty straightforward, 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of hooking up the different sensors here. So not that complicated, something where really children can get involved in robotics now without having a steep learning curve, and also without it being super expensive. All right, in terms of cons and negatives we experienced with the mBot, the real problem is just that it's so new that some of the software, things on the app, the remote control, the Scratch programming, some things don't always work perfectly each time. We had a couple of crashes. Switch computers tend to work better. The documentation, the printed documentation in the box was in Chinese, but they do provide as a PDF an English translation, which was pretty good, but there's still some elements, as things are changing, they've got new versions out, then the documentation doesn't match up. So some of that kind of cutting edge learning curve stuff. So those are really our only problems, is that this is so new. You might run into some issues in that sense. As they have new revisions, they'll probably fix it with the software, but not quite as polished as Lego, some of the other ones out there. So that's really the only negative, is that there is a bit of a cutting edge aspect to having something brand new, and you'll need to tinker around with it a little bit to get the most out of it. All right, so if you're looking for an affordable way to get the kids interested in robots and programming, the mBot is a great way to go. This diagram is neat, kind of shows the intersection here. Arduino, Scratch 2.0 robotics, and the mBot is right there in the middle. So again, we don't usually talk that much about price, but because this is so much less than Lego in the competition at $79 for a robot you can program via Scratch and through remote control on an app on your phone, we think that's pretty impressive. So a lot of cool features to it. We're just going to show this diagram here, so I think it's interesting. It shows what's in the board here. A lot of expandability, much more you could do than we've shown in this video. We only had so much time, didn't even show it tracking a line and things like that. But we also want to stress it's pretty easy to put together. Like we said, some cutting edge stuff there where not all of it works perfectly and you got to kind of fool around a little bit to get everything working just right. But at that price, definitely worth it. Come on over to daddoes.com. We're going to have a full review over on the site.